New Super Luigi U features evil score points that are unavoidable. The 50 timer points we have to pay at the end of each stage, 8,000 points for each normal boss fight on the route, and 20,000 points for defeating Bowser during the final battle. That's 52,900 stupid points that are definitely required in order to beat the game. In a certain way, this score is the perfect score. These are all the score points that are outside of the player's control when playing the game. And this is the score I wanted to reach when I first started to route New Super Luigi U with as few points as possible. But I wasn't able to reach the perfect score. After weeks of routing, I only got the game down to this score. And sadly, that's not even close. That's 2,320 points too much. 2,320 points that I really wanted to get rid of, but wasn't able to. I simply was out of ideas on how to get this silly number down. But then I got some help. I got literally hundreds of comments with ideas on how to improve the score even further. And most of those ideas were really good and definitely worth trying. So over the last weeks, I gave tons of these ideas a try. And as it turns out, there is definitely room for improvement. In this video, we're going to reinvestigate all the points and we will find out if it is possible to reach the perfect score. So you ready? Let's do this. So first, before we start, let's just quickly talk about the rules since we never specified them before. Basically, everything is allowed. Glitches, Nabbit, multiplayer, even the infinite flight suit. We only have one goal, to get the evil score as low as possible, and everything that helps us in doing so is welcome. All we want to do is to save points. And luckily, the very first point save is already possible in the very first stage. Here we are punished with 1,200 points because we have to obtain an Acorn suit. The cheapest way I found to get our hands onto a delicious Acorn mushroom was to defeat one of the Acorn mushroom carrying enemies in this stage and to eat the mushroom afterwards. So, as it turns out, there is one huge mechanic in the game I completely missed while routing it. Mainly because I'm an idiot. So after I uploaded the first part, I got tons and tons of comments telling me just to tap the Acorn mushroom, because then the enemy drops it down and it cuts out the need to murder the squirrel, saving 200 points during the process. So I read all of these comments and was like, what are you guys talking about? Nothing happens when I tap the mushroom. I tapped it and tapped it and tapped it and nothing happened. And then I realized something that's a bit weird about the game. Tapping on the Wii U gamepad only becomes possible when not playing on the Wii U gamepad, but on a Wii remote. I always play on the gamepad, which is why I missed this. But once we play with a controller, tapping this enemy obviously becomes possible, which grants us the Acorn suit without any squirrel murder incidents and brings us 200 points closer to our perfect score. Hooray! That was a really simple save. Next, the points in 1-2. In this stage are two problematic score spots. The first points are obtained because we have to ground pound a poor and innocent brick block into pieces to reach the secret exit. That's 10 points. Then we face this spot where our path forward is blocked by a sinister coin wall. The most efficient way past this spot, which I found, was to pick up 6 coins. So a lot of people suggested that it should be possible to skip collecting the coin in the top left corner by lining Luigi perfect before jumping. I tried this over and over again and I'm pretty sure that this is sadly not possible. I always ended up collecting this coin, no matter how carefully I positioned myself. Also, I'm probably slowly becoming paranoid, but I could swear that these dumb coins have a bigger hitbox than other coins in the game. Anyway, so saving points here by clever positioning is sadly not possible. But luckily, there is another trick that allows us to save points here. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to a helpful tool?
Here I go!
Toad. Toad is an awesome tool that we can use at will by adding a second player. As soon as the second player is connected, our point-saving living mushroom enters the scene in a bubble from the left. The cool thing is that he enters the stage behind the sinister coin wall. All that we have to do now is to tap Toad, and hooray! Toad is behind the impassable coin wall. Now we can bubble Luigi, pop the bubble as soon as he's behind, and bubble Toad once again, since he did his job.
Thanks for playing!
By using this little trick, it suddenly becomes possible to end the stage without collecting any dumb coins. But that's not the only point save in this stage, because the brick block points are actually avoidable as well. Huge thanks to YouTube user Tarja Cooper. He left me 2 comments filled with insane game knowledge and tons of incredibly great ideas to remove nasty points. But not only the comments were awesome, but the whole discussion below was incredibly helpful as well. Seriously, thanks to everyone who participated in this discussion, especially YouTube user David Cothron, who went through the trouble of putting together an insanely helpful routing document. You guys are amazing, and I learned a lot by reading the whole discussion. One thing I learned is that it is possible to break brick blocks in boost mode with a boost star without obtaining points. This is huge! But first, what am I talking about? So boost mode is the gameplay mode the Wii U gamepad switches to as soon as the game is played with a controller. The idea here is that the second player is able to boost the player who plays on the controller by tapping enemies and by placing blocks, which leads us to the boost star. A boost star is obtained if Luigi jumps off of 10 platforms in a row before the card symbols disappear. If we tap this boost star, we enter the star boost mode and are suddenly able to break brick blocks pointless as a reward. This allows us to remove another 10 points in 1-2. This saves the insane amount of 610 points here and brings us another step closer to a dream of reaching the perfect lowest score. Next is the Unavoidable Coin at the beginning of my favorite Cheap Chomp Chase level, Cheap Chomp Chase. Here we are assaulted by a coin as soon as we leave this pipe. This coin can't be dodged as Big Luigi. Only Small Luigi is able to swim past this coin fast enough. Even though it's not possible to dodge this coin as Big Luigi, it's actually possible to dodge this coin while Big Luigi. So first, a huge thanks to the phenomenally named YouTuber WaluigiGoesWa. He took the time to investigate a lot of the remaining points and found a lot of really cool point saves, including this one. He has a couple of really cool challenge runs on his channel, including Mario Galaxy Coinless, and I highly recommend everyone who dislikes coins as much as I do to check his channel out. The link is in the description. So how was WaluigiGoesWa able to get rid of this coin while still wearing the Acorn suit? Well, the trick he used was...
Here I go!
Toad! Once again, everyone's favorite talking mushroom is the hero we needed. All that we have to do is to bubble our coin saver in, pop the bubble, bubble Luigi, and then enter the pipe. Toad leaves his bubble as Small Toad, which means he's able to dodge the coin with ease as soon as he leaves the pipe. And then it's a job well done for Toad, and time to get back into his bubble.
Thanks for playing!
That's another 100 points saved. Hooray! The next points are the 40 ninja points in Parabeetle Parade. Here we get points because one of the huge bullet bills destroys these brick blocks out of sight. Many people suggested to trigger this P-switch so that the brick blocks out of sight transform into coins and the bullet bills aren't able to destroy the blocks anymore. But sadly, that's not what triggering this P-switch does, because this P-switch is no ordinary P-switch, but a trap built to ruin our day. This is what this P-switch does. Yeah, well, no, let's not trigger this one. There are already enough coins in the game as is. But luckily, this P-switch isn't our only chance to get rid of those points, because once again we can use the Boost Star mode. The Boost Star mode not only makes it possible to break brick blocks coinless, but actually allows us to defeat enemies that are otherwise undefeatable by tapping them, all without granting any points. What a pointless mechanic, it's awesome. So all we have to do is to defeat the gigantic bullet bills and we're no longer assaulted by ninja points. Hooray! Another 40 point save. Before we take a look at Stone Crush Tower, let's quickly discuss another trick. A trick Tarja Cooper pointed out to me. There is a really interesting glitch in New Super Mario Bros. U. The only footage of this glitch that I was able to find is in an old YouTube video made by the Eggbusters. In this video, Mario enters a pipe at the exact frame the timer hits 0 seconds. So usually Mario dies the second the timer hits 0, but since he entered the pipe at the same time, the timer glitched out and got stuck at 0 seconds. A 0 seconds timer would allow us to save an insane amount of timer points. This could potentially allow us to even get the score lower than what I assumed to be the perfect score. But there is a problem. I simply can't reproduce the glitch. The problem is that we always have to wait for the timer to expire before we can try to enter the pipe, which means we only get one try roughly every 2 minutes. The game runs at 60 frames per second and doing a frame perfect trick at 60 frames per second is really hard. And since we only get one shot every 2 minutes, it's extremely tedious to test this. So I tried to enter the pipe in 1-2 at the frame the timer runs out for about 5 hours, but I simply wasn't able to reproduce the glitch. The problem is that that this could be for two reasons. Either I just failed the trick for hours, which is totally possible since the trick is probably frame perfect, or Nintendo patched the glitch when they released the Super Luigi U DLC to the base game, since the only recording of the glitch that I was able to find was done before Luigi U got released. I simply can't say for sure if this is still possible, so if anyone of you wonderful ladies and gentlemen happens to reproduce this glitch, please let me know about it. For now, the stinky timer points sadly stay. Okay, so next my personal favorite stage. Stone Crush Tower and the coins in the Run Crusher hallway. Here we're sadly forced to collect 3 humiliating coins in this section. There were 2 things I tried to get rid of them. First, I tried to spawn in
Here I go!
Toad, in the hope that it allows us to skip at least 1 coin here. But sadly this time Toad is completely useless. The other thing I tried was team ground pounding. So if 2 players ground pound at the same time, then a power block effect is triggered and all enemies on screen die. Sadly, this power block effect is not the actual power block effect, since stupid coins are unaffected by it. So these coins sadly stay in the route. If someone has any ideas on how to get rid of those coins, please let me know. It would make me really happy if you could get rid of them somehow. It's nothing personal. I just hate these coins. So this leaves us with 2 potential point saves, 2 question blocks in the Bowser Jr stage and 8-secret. 8-secret first. So the reason we didn't route through the secret level in the 8 world, even though it would in theory save 50 timer points, is because there is always a fireball on screen when we try to enter level, which gives us 1000 super evil points. But as it turns out, all we have to do is to tap the fireball. Whoops! So that's another 50 points saved, since it removes the Magma River Cruise and 8-free. Okay, so one final level left to reinvestigate, and then we finally know how close to the perfect score we're able to get. The Bowser Jr Airship stage. So the problem here is the following. The gigantic Bowser hand that drops down from the sky destroys those 2 poor and innocent question blocks. The problem is that those 2 question blocks get murdered by the hand before we are able to leave this area, which is punished with 20 points. Since we aren't able to raise the hand, we have to do something else if we want to save those innocent question blocks. We obviously have to get rid of the hand. Luckily, our brother in spirit, WaluigiGoesWa, found an incredibly cool way to do exactly this. As it turns out, the punching hand is tied to the position of the cloud. It's set up in such a way that the hand always punches at the exact same places onto the moving platform. The cool thing here is that the platform only starts to move once we actually touch it. Once the level starts, Luigi jumps into the screen from below and lands on the platform. But we actually gain control over Luigi before we land on the platform. All that we have to do here is to place one of the incredibly helpful magical blocks, to jump off of it and to land on one of the question blocks we're trying to save. And then we never touch the cloud, which means that the cloud never starts to move, which means that the Bowser hand never activates, which means that we actually found a way to save these question blocks, which saves 20 points. Okay, so that was the last area we had to reinvestigate. Now we finally know how close to the perfect score we're able to get. We're only 1300 points off of the perfect score. Isn't that fantastic? We're able to remove over 1000 additional score points. That's a lot, isn't it? We actually removed about 2% of the score we previously had. Who cares? That's so bad. To be honest, when I started routing the game, the perfect score was actually the absolute highest number I was willing to accept. I was honestly really hoping that there are some tricks possible that allow us to get an even lower score. But now after weeks of routing, we're still stuck with 1300 points too much. Not only did we not find a way to cut seemingly unavoidable points, but we didn't even manage to reach the simple perfect score. I really don't want to accept this. And as it turns out, I don't have to. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to the biggest breakthrough in new Super Luigi U low score routing history. Because thanks to a couple of last minute discoveries, we're actually able to tear this score into pieces. Here's what happened. So Jar Jar Koopa actually left us another idea to try out in his comment. He noticed something strange while watching a video made by Mario Games about beating all Mario U bosses with the Fire Flower. This is what happened during this clip. Did you notice it? Bowser Jr. died here without points. This clip actually features the Holy Grail for lowest score routing. It features a pointless boss kill. The reason why Bowser Jr. forgot to hand out points here is because he died to a bob-omb that is not associated to Mario. So if we pick up one of those walking boombots and throw it towards Bowser's son, then we're rewarded shameful points. But that's not what happens in this clip. In the clip, the bob-omb got ignited by a fire flower and was never touched by anyone. Because of this, the bob-omb isn't associated with Mario, and because of this, the kill is pointless. So if we change our stylish Acorn suit for a funky fire flower outfit directly before the Ludwig fight, then we're able to defeat Bowser Jr. using this trick. This adds 1000 points in the World 7 castle, but it removes a whopping 8,000 points during the Bowser Jr. boss fight. This means that we are actually below the score I assume to be the perfect one. And this is just the beginning of a series of last-minute discoveries. So I toyed around a bit more with the Bowser Jr. fight, and as it turns out, the fire flower isn't needed to defeat Bowser Jr. pointless, because if we tap bob-ombs to ignite them, they're actually not associated with us as well. This not only cuts 1000 points for the fire flower, but it actually allows us to cut the Acorn mushroom in the first world as well. The fire flower was the last place in the whole route that required us to grab a power-up before. It's actually possible to do the whole route without the Acorn suit by using our new best friend, the magical blocks. That's another 1000 points gone. And we're still far from being done here, because there is another boss on our route that features bob-ombs and can theoretically be damaged by juggling boombots towards it. Our old friend Chemic the Boy witch. Theoretically, it's possible to defeat Chemic pointless by juggling bob-ombs towards him at the right time, though it's probably more likely to win the lottery while getting struck by lightning than to pull this off. Nonetheless, it theoretically removes another incredible 8000 points. But there is one final point save. So remember the boost star from the beginning of the video, the one that is obtained by jumping on top of our card symbol themed platforms 10 times in a row? Well, as it turns out, while this boost star is active, it is possible to damage all bosses in the game without obtaining any points. This removes 8000 points from the Boom Boom battle, 8000 points from the Ludwig battle, and most importantly, 16,000 points from the final stage. The only boss points we can't get rid of this way are the 4000 points after the first Bowser fight, since those aren't tied to Bowser but to the stupid P-switch. This means that there are only 3 sources of evil points left in the game: the worst 3 coins ever placed in Stonecrush Tower, the timer points, and this P-switch. Everything else is gone. Hooray! And best of all, since Chemic can be beaten by boost star tapping, it removes all the evil RNG we had to deal with and makes the run humanly possible again. So I haven't found the time to proof run all of the stages yet, because the whole routing was changing so fast while theory crafting all of this, but I looked into all the problematic spots, and beating the game with a score of 5200 points is possible. It's incredibly hard because the stupid magical platforms puke coins all over our run, but it is definitely possible. So yeah, here we have it, 5200 points are left. To be honest, that's a far lower score than I ever thought could be possible. Huge thanks again to everyone who helped getting this score so low. There is no way I would have ever been able to get this little points alone. For anyone wondering if we're going to route the lowest score for Red Luigi's version of the game as well, yes we are, but we're going to do it on the Switch version, since it adds a couple of things that could come in handy. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and maybe you feel especially like conjuring magical blocks out of thin air today, and want to hit the subscribe button as well. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!